Hey guys, I'm Valerie.
I'm Ben.
And in this video we're going to take a closer look at a food calorie and how this concept ties into reaching your body composition goals. We do want to do a quick disclaimer that anything said in this video about nutrition advice should be combined with a moderately vigorous resistance training program. So let's get started.
So what is a kcal, or a food calorie? This unit of measurement refers to how much energy is in a beverage or food that you consume.
Correct. So how does this concept tie into weight? First, we have to ask ourselves, how does the body burn a calorie? This is called your TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. Which calculates one's maintenance calories, and it's comprised of 4 main measurements. The first and the largest being the basal metabolic rate, or your BMR. This is the total number of calories that your body burns, and this is the absolute bare minimum of calories you can consume in order to ensure survival.
So the next largest component is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, also known as NEAT. And this is the number of calories that you burn doing anything that's not a structured exercise activity. So this could include fidgeting, tapping your foot, walking to work, cleaning the house, or just doing yard work. This is a really underrated portion of your daily energy expenditure. And this is demonstrated by a study from 2005 by Dr. James Levine, who compared the NEAT of a construction worker and an office worker, and what they found was actually 1,000 calorie difference in total daily energy expenditure. And while this is an extreme example, it's still relevant because it really goes to show the importance of NEAT in weight change.
So the third is the thermic effect of food, or TEF. And this is the energy your body expends to digest the food that you eat. Some studies have found that a mixed diet can produce an energy expenditure of 5 to 15%, that range. And basically, if you're eating a diet higher in protein, you're gonna have a higher TEF, so on the more 15% side. And if you are eating more fat, then you have a lower TEF, more towards the 5% or lower. This is a very lengthy topic, one we will be happy to do a video on, but it's more information than is needed for now.
So the last part is the thermic effect of activity, and these are the calories you burn doing structured exercise, my favorite example being lifting or resistance training.
So let's take an example. So if we have a 21-year-old female, she has an office job, she weighs 137 pounds, is 5'7", lifts 6 days a week, and she lives in a city, so she walks a lot. What would this female's TDEE be? You can use an online calculator to find this number out, but this is how they got the numbers. First, they use the Harris-Benedict equation to find her BMR, and this takes into consideration one's weight, gender, height, and age. Then they multiply this BMR by activity multipliers known as the Katch-McArdle multipliers, which takes into consideration one's activity level, both structured and unstructured, and it ranges from sedentary to extremely active. So if we take all of this into consideration, the female's approximate TDEE is 2,514, and surprise, this female is me. And this is a super close approximation to my maintenance calories of what I use. So how does this number tie into our goals? If I would want to maintain my weight, I would just have to eat the same amount of calories that I'm burning. Super simple. So at my current weight, I would have to eat around 2,500 and 2,550. I would eat less calories on days that I'm less active and more calories on the days that I'm a little more active.
So moving on to if you want to lose fat, it's imperative that you create a caloric deficit, meaning that you're expending more energy than you consume in a given day. What happens is when we eat fewer calories than we expend, our body is forced to pull energy from our fat tissues, and then you begin to lose weight and fat over time.
So, a study done in the 2000s by Dr. Gilbert Forbes recommended that at the beginning of your diet, you should, when you have a little more fat on you, you should be more aggressive, then taper down as you get closer to your goal.
Right, so a study by Dr. Eric Helms in 2014 gives practical recommendations for macronutrients. Your caloric intake should be set to lose 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. This can go up to 1.5% for individuals with more body fat, and these ranges are given to maximize muscle retention. Given this caloric intake, most bodybuilders responded best to a protein range of 2.3 to 3.1 grams per kilogram per day. And the higher end of that range is more designed to improve satiety in the athletes as they are on very low calories. About 15 to 30% of your calories should come from fats, and then the remainder will be carbohydrates. Another note is that this is a really high amount of protein, and a more practical recommendation that we use is from Brad Schoenfeld, who recommends a consumption of 2 to 2.5 grams per kilogram per day. In conclusion, you really want to be aggressive with your cuts at the beginning just because you have more energy to expend, and it's also going to be more motivating because you'll see the weight drop off, you'll see the fat drop off, you'll see body composition changes faster. And it's also important to remember that you have to push yourself in your resistance training here to signal to your body that the retention of lean mass is a priority. And by doing this, you will exponentially increase your chances of holding on to that lean muscle.
Cool, so continuing with the previous example, if I were to be cutting for 8 weeks, week 1 through 4, I'd be losing about 1% of body weight per week, which would put me at about 2 pounds a week. That's a caloric deficit of 1,000 calories a day. I know that's a scary number, but with a combination of a little less food and a little more moving around during the day, it's a total reachable number. So week 5 through 8, I'd be losing around 0.5% of my body weight, which is about a pound a week, which is a caloric deficit of 500 calories a day. That's a total of 12 pounds, which would put me on my goal at 125.
So moving on to gaining muscle. If you want to build muscle, you need to be in a caloric surplus, meaning you're eating more calories than you're expending. You need a caloric surplus so your muscles can get the necessary nutrients they need to repair and grow. Muscle growth is a result of pushing your muscles to your limits, which will then result in micro tears, and these micro tears heal and grow back stronger as you eat and rest.
Despite what most bodybuilding communities recommend, you do not have to be in a super big surplus to make super big gains. For example, we eat a little past our maintenance, which puts us in a slight surplus. So we're putting on the muscle that we want, but we're very slowly putting on fat.
Yeah, there's a common saying in the bro science community that you might be familiar with that goes, eat big to get big. And this does have scientific basis, but only if you don't care what type of weight you're putting on. A 2019 study in the Journal of Human Kinetics, conducted by Schoenfeld et al., compared 2 groups that were progressively training. One group was in a large surplus and the other was in a more moderate surplus. At the end of 4 weeks of resistance training and dieting, the larger surplus group put on 1% more lean body mass, but a whopping 8% more body fat. So in the long term, this is not going to be sustainable. So a practical recommendation taken from a paper published recently by Iraqi et al. Is a 5 to 10% surplus for more advanced lifters and a 10 to 20% surplus for beginner and intermediates, given that they have a higher potential to gain lean body mass.
Cool, so an end note to finish off the video. Basically a food calorie is a unit of measurement for energy. To figure out your how many food calories your body requires, you need to figure out your TDEE and go from there. Again, any recommendations given for nutrition assumes that you are already weight training, since food and exercise work hand in hand to reach one's fitness goals. We haven't decided if we want to do a progressive overload video next week or how to shop on a budget as a college student. So leave your preference in the comments below, and we'll do that. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.